Some of you may have been wondering where I've been lately. Well, it's a long story. I was on my way to my nightly Taco Bell run. The drive-thru was crowded and filled with filthy taco casuals, so I opted to walk into the store. As I opened the door, the sweet scent of taco stink blasted into my nostrils, nearly knocking me off my feet. Once my knees stopped quaking from burrito excitement, I ordered my favorite feast from the counter. 3 cheesy bean and rice burritos with sour cream. The cashier looked at me, the fear of death in his eyes. "That's an off-menu item, sir," he said in a voice barely above a whisper. "I know," I replied with a sensual grin. "I'm an off-menu kind of person." The cashier noisily swallowed a mouthful of saliva and punched in my order. Now the wait. Some say the anticipation of Taco Bell is the most pleasurable part of the experience. I can never help but lick my chops thinking about that first bite into an unsoiled burrito. The mere thought of my teeth breaking into warm tortilla flesh sends chills down my spine. Soon my taste buds would be greeted by the succulent flavor of heat-lamped refried beans, the texture broken by perfectly overcooked rice. And on top of all of that, the slight spice of nacho cheese cooled by a flavorful explosion of sour cream. Oh, how I crave the cream. Soon enough my meal arrived, and I sat down to gorge myself on its bounty. But as I bit into the first burrito, only horror filled my mouth. The tortilla, beans, rice, and cheese resonated in my mouth with near-perfect harmony, but where was the sour cream? I spat the mouthful of burrito waste onto the floor in disgust. "Are you trying to poison me?" I screamed, my mouth twisted in fury. With a swipe of my arm, I flung the remainder of the toxic mess off the table, the half-eaten burritos flying across the room and sticking to the wall like flies on paper. In a blur, I was at the ordering counter again, my fist clenched around the collar of the cashier. "Do you have any idea what kind of sin you've committed?" I bellowed into his face. The cashier only stared at me, wide-eyed, gripping my forearm and pleading for mercy. After a few moments, I calmed myself enough to release him, my hands bearing down white-knuckled on the counter's edge. "Where's your manager?" I growled. It was then that I noticed the orange pulsating sore on the cashier's cheek, yellow veins emanating from its center. I leaned forward, dragging my tongue across the wound. Nacho cheese, just as I had suspected. My Holmesian taco concentration was broken by a shadowy figure in the corner of my eye. It was the manager, a tall, hunched figure clad in black, tattered robes. The stench of old cheese filled my lungs as it floated toward me, its feet never seeming to touch the floor. "What can I do for you?" it hissed at me in a raspy voice. I stared at the featureless void where the creature's face should have been. "I ordered cheesy bean and rice burritos with sour cream. Your cohort delivered me only creamless swill." I shot an angry glance at the cashier, who recoiled in terror. An evil aura seemed to pour from the manager as he spoke, his words sending a cold chill throughout my body. "We are out of sour cream." I narrowed my gaze. Something wasn't right. It wasn't late enough in the day for a sour cream shortage, unless perhaps they'd been raided by a herd of feral cats. Yet that wouldn't make sense. I know that they keep a supply of extra sour cream in a locked safe for just such occasions. I scanned the kitchen area behind the manager, expecting to see vials of the white nectar, but the walls were instead bare. There was no cooking staff or other employees of any kind either, besides the manager itself and the pulsating orange cashier. I clenched my teeth and squinted my eyes menacingly, turning back to the manager. "I've walked the path of the bell for 15 years. I see through your lies." The air was still for a moment as we stared each other down. The only break in the silence, the soft whimpers of the cowering cashier. Finally, the dark creature spoke again. "Who are you?" I took a step back and slowly drew my katana, light from the neon Taco Bell sign glinting off its steel. My gaze locked on the manager. I announced myself in a loud voice. "I am Kothorix, son of Nashir, heir to the Komachi clan and guardian of the Alkareen." "A son of Nashir?" the manager rasped out. It suddenly recoiled and extended a bony finger dripping with nacho cheese. "He is here to destroy us. Kill him." At those words, the cashier shrieked out in pain. The orange wound on his face exploded into a cascade of spicy nacho cheese, which seemed to consume him from the inside out. Globules of the gooey substance poured from his mouth and eyes, choking his screams into a phlegmy gurgle. Soon he was nothing more than a mass of molten sentient cheese. His entire body undulated from the thick orange slime, his steps leaving a gooey trail on the floor as he moved. I took a defensive stance, just as the cheese creature lurched at me. With a skillful sideways roll, I narrowly evaded a swing of the monster's arm, jagged nacho chips affixed to its end like claws. The momentum from its attack carried it forward, leaving it off balance. Without hesitation, I quickly focused my chakra and unleashed a devastating attack. "Obesity strike!" I called as a blade of white light exploded from my sword and sliced through the evil monster. Hot nacho cheese sprayed from the wound, splashing across my trench coat. The substance, like acid, began to eat away at the material. I quickly disrobed, tossing the coat aside. I'd have to pick up a replacement from the Goodwill later. But as I looked up, the cheese creature, which I thought defeated, was upon me. Its claws raked the flesh of my upper arm and knocked me off my feet, sending me spiraling into the crunch-wrap preparation area. Luckily, the stainless steel counter cushioned my fall, and I quickly rose back to my feet. Pain jolted through me, the cheesy wound the creature left burning intensely. I readied myself for another attack, but the creature only gurgled and stumbled forward, clutching at its wound before collapsing into a puddle of its own goo. A cackle from the black-robed manager drew my attention. It had retreated to the wall adjacent to me. At its beckon, the stones seemed to slide apart, revealing a dark entryway, which it sank inside of. After it passed through, the doorway began to close. I couldn't let it get away. I needed answers, and sour cream. I quickly ran toward the portal and dove into the darkness, the stones closing behind me. I awoke to the sound of dripping cheese. My head spun and my arm ached. I glanced down at my shoulder. The wound was spreading, drooling an orange substance. I tore off a piece of my Kothorix brand t-shirt, available for $20 on Streamlabs, and used it as a bandage. I was in a small, dark room that smelled of beans. A quick taste test revealed that the floor and walls were made of refried bricks. Molten beans pushed together in a block and left out under a heat lamp for a few hours. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed an elongated figure pressed against the wall. As I neared, I realized it was not human, but a large humanoid burrito, its tortilla flesh old and weathered. Its entire body was emaciated, as though someone had gripped it too hard and squeezed the goo out of it prematurely. Its arms were held up above it, fastened to the wall by some kind of corn-chip chain. It was awake, but its eyes were unfocused, glazed over like Cinnabon delights. "Who are you, and where am I?" I asked it. The burrito looked up at me before coughing, bits of taco sauce sputtering from its mouth-like orifice. I reached into my pocket and retrieved a packet of fire sauce, emptying its contents into the burrito's face hole. I always carried a pocket full of taco sauce with me. You'll never know when it'll come in handy. I pulled at the chain of nacho chips, which crumbled like the bones of a toddler. Now freed and partially revitalized, the burrito looked up at me. "Thank you," he managed to wheeze. "My name is Kothorix. I am the king of the Takosians, but I was captured by the evil necromancer, Gortilda. We are in her dungeon." "Gortilda? Is that the cheese witch that did this to me?" I said to him, turning to show the wound on my shoulder. The king nodded solemnly. "You have been infected by her dark necromancy. The wound will grow and consume you. Soon you will become one of her minions." My fears had been confirmed. "Is there any way to undo this delicious curse?" I asked, tasting a bit of the nacho cheese that had soaked through the bandage on my shoulder. The king nodded again. "There is one way, through the power of sour cream, but—" His voice trailed off. I placed my hand on the burrito's shoulder. "Tell me, please." "Perhaps I should start at the beginning." The king cleared his throat and took a deep breath. "In the land of Takota, there are 5 elements: beans, rice, cheese, your choice of meat, and sour cream. The gods bound these elements together with tortilla skin to create life. In order for us Takosians to live, we must consume all these ingredients together in balance. What about taco sauce? I asked, fingering over the emptied packet in my hand. They only give you like 2 of these when you order anything. It's like gold to them. The king didn't answer, his eyes beginning to glaze over again.
I remember a time when the land was filled with luscious lettuce landscapes, bubbling bean brooks, and crystal cream caverns.
I shook him gently. Sir, please, about the cheese witch. The king looked to me.
The Notromancer. Her kind is an aberration, a being of pure nacho cheese. She sought to destroy us for decades, but she never had the power, until one day she found the fabled cream core, which all sour cream pours from. She took it from the earth, upsetting the balance and devastating the land.
But what does she want with the cream core? I asked. It's not even best in slot for her class. The king nodded.
You are knowledgeable in the ways of my people. As you know, sour cream is the polar opposite of nacho cheese. The cream core is the one thing that can negate her power. She keeps it in her possession so that no one can use it against her.
The king sputtered, his speech devolving into a coughing fit. I sprayed another packet of taco sauce into the old burrito's mouth. After a few deep breaths, he continued.
We cannot live without sour cream. Soon all of Takota will be consumed by nacho cheese. Then, I'm afraid, she'll come after your world next.
I stood up beside the king, tightening the bandage on my arm. Sir, it seems we have a common enemy. Although I don't need it to survive, a life without sour cream isn't worth living. Besides, I'm pretty sure Taco Bell nacho cheese is just molten orange plastic. I'd rather not be consumed by it, I said, smiling down at him. The king smiled back through chapped tortilla lips.
Good. Maybe you can stop her. If you wish to face Gortilda, ascend the tower and destroy the crystal the cream core is sealed in.
I retrieved the remainder of the taco sauce from my pocket and handed it to the king. Stay here and rest. I'll go ahead. The king nodded.
Go now. The fate of both our worlds depends on it.
My mission was set. Destroy the Notromancer Gortilda and save the land of Takota from a cheesy fate. Without another word, I picked up my katana and made my way toward the stairs on the opposite side of the room. I ascended for what seemed like hours. Luckily, my body and mind were perfectly attuned from daily consumption of Taco Bell. Finally, I reached the apex of the tower. The room before me was hexagonal in shape, with a high ceiling. In its center was an enormous bubbling cauldron, orange goo spilling over its sides. Atop a platform at the cauldron's edge was the witch. As she turned to me, I noticed a white pendant around her neck, glinting from under her black cloak.
"How did you follow me?" she screeched out. "Fine then, let us fight."
And without any delay, she extended her fingers. Hot ropes of orange goo exploded from under her fingernails, blasting in my direction. I rolled to the side as they splashed across the ground, sizzling as the acidic cheese ate away at the beanstone floor. "I know what you are, Gortilda," I called to her, rising to my feet and charging in her direction. "By the power of sour, I will defeat you!" The Notromancer's attacks continued, string after string of hypertension gel, narrowly missing me. With quick changes in direction, I expertly dodged her attacks, making my way to the raised platform where she stood.
"Fool! You will scream for cream before I'm through with you," the witch shrieked. "Take this!"
She raised her hands above her head. A giant glob of cheese began to form, spinning and becoming larger by the second. Just before I could reach her, she hurled it at me. I couldn't move fast enough, the orb of concentrated heartburn connecting and knocking me across the room. I lay in a daze, the cheese burning my flesh and opening wounds across my body. I tried to force myself to stand, but I only collapsed back to the ground. My breathing was labored, my head spinning. How could I win against such an opponent? Just then, when all hope was lost, a familiar voice called out to me.
"Kothorix!"
I looked up. It was the king. He knelt beside me.
"Kothorix, only you can save us now. My life is forfeit, but I can be of one last help to you. Eat me, Kothorix. Eat me and claim my power."
"Kesaritan, I can't," I said through labored breaths. "If you're gone, who will lead the Takotan people? Besides, I don't really like quesaritos."
The Takosians will find a way, the king said, smiling. He extended an arm forward. Please, take a bite. Despite this ruined body, some sour cream remains in me yet.
I didn't have time to argue. Gortilda had almost recovered from her last attack. Without another word, I fiercely took a bite out of the burrito king. Then another, and another, his pained shrieks not silenced until I had consumed his entire body. I stood to my feet, revitalized. Eating a human-sized burrito had fully restored my health points, but left me feeling somewhat gassy and bloated. I could feel the power of anime surging through me, and with the speed of 1,000 Taco Bell customers rushing to the toilet, I charged Gortilda. She couldn't react in time, my katana sinking into her chest. I grasped at the cream core pendant around her neck and smirked. Hey, Gortilda, what do you call sour cream that doesn't belong to you? Without waiting for a response, I crushed the pendant. Nacho cream. Gortilda shrieked as white, flavorful, delicious sour cream erupted from the destroyed pendant. It instantly coated the witch in white goop. She struggled and screamed one final time before collapsing backward into the cauldron. The broth bubbled for a few moments, and she was gone. And then a beam of pure cream shot into the sky, crashing through the ceiling of the bean tower. It sprayed a rainbow of its goodness into the heavens, raining down onto the parched world of Takota below. Suddenly, the pain in my arm ceased, the cheese curse broken. My mission was complete, but at what cost? I knelt down sadly, mourning the loss of my dear friend. Then I felt a presence. I looked up to see a floating transparent figure before me. It was the king, but not as he had been. It was a form of him in his prime, a handsome, fresh burrito, clad in royal Takosian dress.
Kothorix, I knew you could do it. We are truly grateful. We will sing songs of your bravery for generations.
Heh, I replied. The Ghost King looked down to the cauldron, its once yellow contents now a pure white.
Now that the Notromancer is dead, the boundary between our world is fading. I must return you to yours.
I nodded to him and closed my eyes. A sudden warmth surrounded me, and when I opened my eyes, I found myself in a familiar place, outside of my local Taco Bell. I checked my phone. A few days had passed. I hurried inside, but to my relief, everything was normal. Employees on their cell phones sat in the kitchen idly. Old beans sat out in the open, covered in flies. A line of sweating customers stood impatiently in front of the restroom, and vials of sour cream lined the walls. I smiled to myself and ordered 3 cheesy bean and rice burritos with sour cream. And they were delicious.